My name is Lauren Mitchell. I'm a 28-year-old woman from a small town in Ohio where everyone knows everyone and family is supposed to be your anchor. For me, it was the storm. I was always the quiet one, the girl who preferred the glow of a computer screen to the Friday night lights of the high school football field. My passion was research and technology, a world built on logic and code, a world I could control. I poured years of my life into it, late nights fueled by coffee, weekends sacrificed for one more breakthrough, holidays spent debugging lines of code until my eyes burned. I was building something important, something that was entirely mine. But the very people who should have been my biggest supporters, my own family, were the ones who took my life's work and tried to turn it into my greatest betrayal. Before we dive in, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below telling me, where in the world are you watching from? I love seeing how far this story travels. I stood frozen in the back of the crowded auditorium. The air was thick with the smell of old coffee and anticipation. On the giant screen at the front of the room, my project glowed. The software I had spent 3 years of my life developing. The one that knew me better than anyone. Every slide, every graph, every single word was mine. But it wasn't my name on the screen. In big, bold letters it said, Project Nightingale, by Adam Mitchell. Adam, my brother. He stood on the stage, basking in the applause. He looked so confident, so proud. From the front row, my parents were on their feet, clapping so hard their hands must have hurt. My mother's face was beaming, a perfect picture of pride. My father nodded, a rare, approving smile on his face. They looked like they had raised a genius. A cold, hard knot formed in my stomach. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms. The sting was a small, sharp anchor in a sea of disbelief. They thought they could do this. They thought they could take my work, my voice, my very identity, and hand it to him as if it were a gift. They thought they could erase me. But they didn't know about the one thing I had hidden deep inside the code. They didn't know that every file, every document, and every line of programming had a secret. A digital fingerprint, woven into the fabric of my creation, was waiting silently for this exact moment. My world had always been one of quiet creation. While other kids were at parties, I was in my room teaching myself programming languages. My desk was a mess of wires, notebooks, and empty mugs. The hum of my computer was the soundtrack to my life. I loved the challenge, the logic of it all. It was a place where effort equaled results, a simple truth that didn't seem to apply anywhere else in my life, especially not at home. My brother Adam was the star of the family. He was charming, athletic, and knew how to work a room. He was the one my parents bragged about at family gatherings. He got a football scholarship. He was voted most likely to succeed. I was just Lauren, the quiet girl in the background. I tried to share my passion with them. I remember one evening I was so excited about a breakthrough in my data sorting algorithm that I ran downstairs to the kitchen. My father was reading the newspaper and my mother was making dinner. Adam was at the table, scrolling on his phone. I did it, I said, my voice breathless with excitement. I finally got the recursive function to work. It's sorting 1,000,000 data points in under a second. My mother glanced over from the stove, a polite but distant smile on her face. That's nice, dear. My father didn't even look up from his paper. Is that going to make you any money, Lauren? He asked, his tone flat. Adam snorted from the table. 1,000,000 data points of what, your diary? I felt my excitement shrivel up inside me. It's for a research project. It could have applications in medical data analysis. My father finally folded his newspaper and looked at me over his glasses. Lauren, we've talked about this. These little hobbies are fine, but you need to think about the real world. You'll never make a career out of this. Just let your brother handle the serious stuff. He's the one with the business sense. That was their favorite line. Adam handled the serious stuff. It didn't matter that he was studying business administration with mediocre grades, while I was excelling in computer science. It didn't matter that I was building complex software from scratch while he was learning how to write a marketing plan. In their eyes, he was the one destined for success, and I was the one with the little hobbies. Their words were like 1,000 tiny cuts. They dismissed my work, my passion, my dreams. They saw my dedication as a character flaw, something to be managed rather than celebrated. So, I stopped sharing. I retreated back to my room, to the silent comfort of my work. I built my programs in silence, sacrificing sleep and weekends, pouring every ounce of myself into my project. It became more than just software. It was my proof. Proof that I was more than the quiet girl in the background. Proof that I was capable of creating something extraordinary. I thought one day they would have to see. One day they would have to be proud. I was so wrong. The betrayal happened on a Tuesday night. I was visiting a friend from college who lived a few hours away. It was the first time I had been away from my laptop in months, and I felt a little anxious, but I had promised my friend I would come. I left my laptop in my room, locked with a password I thought only I knew. I found out later that it was my mother who gave Adam the password. She had seen me type it in once, months ago, and had memorized it. Just in case of an emergency, she would later claim. The only emergency, it turned out, was their desperate need to see Adam succeed at any cost. While I was gone, my brother went into my room. With my parents' help, he went through my laptop. He didn't just look at my files, he copied everything. My entire project, the source code, the research data, the detailed documentation, and the presentation slides I had been preparing for an upcoming tech conference. He took 3 years of my life and saved it onto a USB drive. I came home the next morning, tired but happy after seeing my friend. The house was quiet. I walked into the kitchen, and my brother was sitting at the table, a smug grin on his face. My parents were there too, looking strangely pleased with themselves. "Morning," I said, grabbing a glass from the cupboard. "Big news, Lauren," Adam said, leaning back in his chair. "I've been selected to present some groundbreaking work at the National Tech Innovators Conference." I froze, the glass halfway to the faucet. That was the conference I had been working toward, the one I had just finished my presentation for. "What work?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He just smirked. My mother stepped forward, placing a hand on my arm. Her touch felt cold. "Adam has been working so hard, honey. He finally got his big break." "But what work?" I repeated, looking from her face to my father's. My father cleared his throat, avoiding my eyes. "It's for the best, Lauren. Adam knows how to present things. He has the charisma." It was then that I knew. A wave of nausea washed over me. I turned and ran up the stairs to my room. My laptop was on my desk, exactly where I had left it. But I could feel it, a sense of violation, as if someone had ransacked my soul. I checked the file access logs. There it was. Last access, 2:13 a.m. Every single file in my project folder had been opened and copied. I walked back down the stairs, my legs feeling like lead. They were all still in the kitchen, waiting. "You stole it," I said, my voice shaking. "You stole my work." Adam just shrugged. "It's not stealing if it stays in the family." My mother's expression hardened. She looked at me not with guilt, but with a cold, dismissive pity. "Sometimes you just need to step aside, Lauren," she said, her voice firm. "It's time for your brother to have his moment. A family is a team. You should be happy for him." I stood there speechless. They weren't just taking my work. They were telling me I didn't deserve it, that my only purpose was to be a stepping stone for my brother. In their eyes, I wasn't a creator, I was just a resource. The day of the conference was gray and rainy, a perfect match for the hollowness I felt inside. I drove myself there. My parents had gone with Adam, of course. They were his support system. I was just an afterthought. I bought a ticket and found a seat in the very back row of the massive auditorium. I pulled my hoodie over my head, wanting to be as invisible as possible. I watched as my brother, dressed in a sharp suit my father had bought him, mingled with professors and tech executives. He shook hands, he laughed, he oozed a confidence that he had not earned. When his name was called, my parents started the applause. He walked onto the stage, a charismatic smile plastered on his face. The presentation slides appeared on the screen behind him, my slides, with my design, my data visualizations. And then he started to speak. He delivered my opening lines, word for word. The lines I had practiced in front of my mirror for weeks, tweaking each word until it was perfect. He spoke about the challenges of the research, the late nights, the moments of doubt. He was telling my story, but he was the hero. The audience was captivated. They nodded along, scribbling notes. They were impressed. And with every round of applause, a piece of me chipped away. I sat there, a ghost in the back of the room, watching a stranger wear my life like a costume. During the Q&A session, a professor asked a highly technical question about the algorithm's core logic. It was a question I had prepared for, a detail only the true creator would know. I saw a flicker of panic in Adam's eyes. He stumbled, trying to piece together an answer from the notes he had memorized. "It's a very complex process," he stammered, "based on established principles of data science." He was faking it, and he was terrible at it. But my parents didn't see it. From the front row, my mother looked back at me, her eyes locking with mine. She wasn't looking with sympathy. It was a look of mocking triumph, a silent message that said, "See, he belongs up there. You don't." I felt so small, so utterly erased. These were my ideas, my words, my discoveries. But in that room, in front of hundreds of strangers, I didn't exist. I was just the quiet girl in the back, watching her brother get a standing ovation for a life he had stolen. The worst moment was yet to come. After the presentations were over, the judges took the stage to announce the winner of the conference's grand prize, a $5,000 research grant. My heart pounded in my chest. I knew my project was good enough to win. That was the bitter irony of it all. The head judge cleared his throat. This year's winner demonstrated not only remarkable innovation, but also a clear vision for the future of data analysis. The grant goes to Adam Mitchell for Project Nightingale. The room erupted in applause. Adam walked back on stage, shaking hands with the judges, holding up the oversized check for the cameras. He was beaming, the picture of success. My parents were hugging each other, tears of joy in my mother's eyes. The betrayal cut so deep it almost broke me. It wasn't just about the money or the recognition, it was about what it represented. It was their ultimate validation of him and their final erasure of me. As the crowd began to disperse, my mother walked over to my seat in the back. She didn't come to console me. She came to gloat. She leaned in close, her voice a triumphant whisper in my ear. "See?" she said, her breath warm and sickeningly sweet. "This is why we trust him, not you. He knows how to win." Her words hit me harder than anything else that day. It was the final confirmation that, in her eyes, I would never be enough. My hard work meant nothing. My talent meant nothing. All that mattered was that Adam won. I felt a sudden, overwhelming urge to run, to get out of that auditorium, out of that city, and never look back. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. I could just walk away, leave them to their victory, and disappear. But then I stopped. I thought about the years of work. I thought about the countless nights I had spent building my project line by line. And I thought about the secret I had hidden inside it. I stayed. I sat back down in my chair and watched them celebrate. Because I knew something they didn't. The show wasn't over yet. The grant organizers, as part of their promotional efforts, posted the winning project's documentation and a summary of the code on their official website the next day. My family saw it as another opportunity to celebrate Adam's genius. They shared the link on social media, tagging everyone they knew. "So proud of our son, Adam Mitchell," my mother wrote. What they didn't know was that they were sharing the very evidence of their fraud. Years ago, when I first started getting serious about my work, I had read about intellectual property theft. I became obsessed with protecting my creations. I developed a personal method, a unique digital signature that I embedded in every single document I created. It wasn't just metadata that could be easily stripped away. It was an invisible digital fingerprint, a string of my own unique code woven into the very structure of the files. It was my name, a precise timestamp of the file's creation, and a cryptographic signature that was uniquely mine. It was invisible to the naked eye, but to anyone who knew where to look, it was as clear as a handwritten signature on a painting. It took less than 24 hours. The tech world is a small, interconnected community. People talk. Reviewers, bloggers, and fellow developers started looking at the winning project. The first comment appeared on a popular tech forum. "Something about this code feels off. The style is inconsistent with the presenter's background." Then another. "Has anyone looked at the file's hex code? There's a weird, non-executable string embedded in the header of every source file." Someone finally cracked it. An email landed in my inbox with the subject line, "Is this you?" It was from a well-known tech blogger. He had found my signature, He had found my name and the original creation timestamps, all dating back years. Within hours, the story exploded. Emails flooded my inbox from journalists, professors, and even the conference organizers. Articles started popping up online, the headlines like a series of hammer blows to my family's reputation. Did this student steal his sister's work? Tech conference winner accused of plagiarism. The curious case of the digital fingerprint. The public praise my family had been soaking in turned into a firestorm of public suspicion. The link they had so proudly shared became a digital monument to their deceit. They had wanted the world to see Adam's success. Now, the world was about to see their lies. The university where Adam was a student immediately launched a formal investigation. The conference organizers froze the grant money. The world my family had built, a world propped up by Adam's charm and my silent labor, began to collapse. My brother panicked. He called me, his voice high-pitched and frantic. "Lauren, you have to tell them it was a collaboration. Tell them we worked on it together. You have to fix this." "There is nothing to fix, Adam," I said, my voice calm and steady. "The code speaks for itself." He tried to deny everything to the university's academic integrity board. He claimed I was a disgruntled sister, jealous of his success. He insisted the work was his. But he couldn't explain the evidence. He couldn't explain why my name was embedded in every file. He couldn't explain why the timestamps proved the work was created on my machine long before he claimed to have started it. Every line of code he presented as his own led back to me. The fallout was brutal. Professors I had admired who had been at the conference reached out to me with apologies and support. They also confronted my parents. Dr. Evans, a leading figure in the field, called my father directly. I was told later that he asked him how he could allow such a blatant act of academic dishonesty to happen under his own roof. My father, flustered and cornered, barked back that it was just family sharing. He tried to frame it as a simple misunderstanding, a family helping each other out, but no one bought it. The world of research and innovation is built on a foundation of integrity. What they had done wasn't sharing, it was theft. Their excuses, which had worked for so long within the four walls of our home, sounded pathetic and corrupt in the real world. Their reputation in our small town, which they cared about so much, was turning to ash. Through all of this, I didn't yell. I didn't engage in the screaming matches my parents tried to start over the phone. I didn't fight. I simply let the truth do the work. While the investigation was ongoing, I took a quiet, deliberate step. I compiled my complete research portfolio, every note, every draft, every failed attempt, and every final piece of code. I uploaded it all, under my own name and with my academic credentials, to the official online journal for computer science research. Then, I contacted a company that had expressed interest in my work months earlier and signed the licensing deal myself. The university's decision came a few weeks later. Adam was found guilty of severe academic fraud. He was expelled. The grant was officially stripped from him. The next day, the conference organizers called me. After a formal review of my evidence, they awarded the $5,000 grant to its rightful owner, to me. The news aired on the local television station that evening. There was a picture of me, smiling, next to a headline that read, "Local innovator reclaims stolen work and wins prestigious grant." I was at my friend's apartment when it aired. I can only imagine the scene at my parents' house. I pictured their faces, pale and drawn, as they watched the story unfold on the screen in their living room. The public recognition they had craved for their son was now my own, and their role in the story was that of the villains. The humiliation they had forced upon me in that auditorium had come back to them, magnified 1,000 times over. My revenge wasn't loud, it was quiet, digital, and absolute. I didn't speak to my family after that. My mother left a dozen voicemails, alternating between rage and tearful pleas for me to think about the family. My father sent a single terse text message. "You've ruined your brother's life." They didn't get it. They never would. They thought I had destroyed the family, but they were the ones who had broken it long ago with their favoritism, their dismissal, their betrayal. I was just the one who finally stopped pretending it wasn't broken. I used the grant money and the advance from my licensing deal to move out. I got my own apartment in the city, a clean, bright space that was entirely mine. I signed with a major tech firm, leading a team that respected my work and valued my contributions. The silence from my parents and brother was a strange and welcome peace. It was louder and more meaningful than any apology they could ever offer. An apology would have been just another attempt to manage the situation, to smooth things over for their own comfort. The silence was an admission of defeat. I poured myself into my work, building something even bigger and better than my last project. I was no longer the quiet girl in the background. I was a creator, a leader, an innovator. I had found my voice, not by shouting, but by writing it into the very fabric of my work. That's how a deep betrayal turned into my quiet victory. They tried to erase me, to reduce my life's work to a footnote in my brother's story. But the truth had already been written, embedded in every line of code, waiting for the world to see. They underestimated me, and they underestimated the power of the proof I had so carefully hidden. If you've ever been stolen from, dismissed, or underestimated by your own family, tell me your story in the comments. Let's share our truths, and don't forget to like and subscribe, because sometimes the best revenge doesn't need a shout, it just needs proof.